Welcome into the 49er Access podcast. My name is Sterling Bennett, and today we are doing our first round of NFL Power Rankings. We just wrapped up week 3. The Rams just lost to the Bengals, and the Philadelphia Eagles remain undefeated against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tonight on Monday Night Football. So we are officially 3 weeks in to the NFL season. Only 3 teams remain undefeated, that being the Eagles, the Dolphins, and the San Francisco 49ers. And there are a handful of teams that have yet to secure their first win of the NFL season. We're going to dive through every single team, 32 to number 1. We'll go through it relatively quickly, but again, going through 32 teams from the worst to the best, through week 3, going into week 4, NFL Power Rankings begin right now. But first, want to remind you to follow us on social media and use our promo code 49ersaccess at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. It's up above or down below. And let's jump right into NFL Week 4 Power Rankings. What do I believe is the worst team in the NFL? And truly, I don't even think it's up for debate. I do think it is the Chicago Bears. All the talk of a big step for Justin Fields. There are plenty of quarterback power rankings, seeing him ranked 18th and going into the year number 10 at certain times. And all of that was absurd for me to read for preseason. And even after week 2, Justin Fields just is not the guy in Chicago. From the top to the bottom, the GM, all the way down to the head coaching and the actual players on the roster, there just isn't much to like with what Chicago has done so far. Currently 0-3, looked like an absolute mess against the Kansas City Chiefs. Fields looks lost, in his words, might be robotic, and then having to go into the media and clarify his comments, saying they were taken out of context. Justin, I'm sorry, you're just not the guy for the job in Chicago, and I could truly believe the Bears might be in the Caleb Williams conversation if he does indeed come out of the NFL draft this year. So the Bears, my worst team, number 32 in the NFL to begin my NFL Week 4 Power Rankings. Number 31, there was a debate in my head because of what just happened against the Miami Dolphins in Week 3. Getting a 70-burger dropped on you, the Denver Broncos come in as my 31st ranked team. 0-3 on the year. What are they? One of 4 teams currently 0-3 in the NFL. Number 31, Russ is cooked. Sean Payton, I think, might be in over his head now. Give it a few years, and I think Payton can steer things in the right direction. But right now, the Broncos look outmatched on defense. They look overwhelmed on offense. And they have the weapons. They have the personnel you can point to and say these guys should be better, but the Commanders had a big comeback win against them. And again, a 70-point, like the Dolphins dropped 70 points on Denver. Russ, I think it's over with. That is one of the worst contracts in football, next to maybe Deshaun Watson, but at least Watson's younger and can still get back on track. The Broncos, my 31st ranked team in the NFL through 3 weeks of the season. My number 30th team, I don't think on paper is the 30th worst team in football. But when you lose your starting quarterback and you're reliant on Zach Wilson to dig you out of a hole, and yes, you beat the Buffalo Bills on prime time in week 1, but unfortunately, the last 2 weeks have not been pretty for the Jets. And of all the teams, this team could easily climb outside of the bottom 25 or really the bottom, 7 or 10. The Jets could be better. The defense is still really good. Sauce Gardner's still there. Quinnen Williams is still there. They have some stars on offense still. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. This team They're just missing a quarterback, unfortunately. The options aren't great. And right now, the defense is on the field what seems like 90% of the game. So they're 1-2. The Jets are my 30th ranked team simply because Zach Wilson cannot get the job done. And it's started to domino effect the rest of the roster, and they can find themselves sitting in last place in the AFC East when it's all said and done. Number 29, I have the other New York team, the New York Giants. And yes, I know, big comeback win against the Cardinals. And maybe I'm a little biased here watching them get mollywopped against the Cowboys in week 1, but 40 points against them. Then the Niners putting up 30 against them this past Thursday during week 3. The Giants look abysmal. No Saquon Barkley for who knows how long. The defense is struggling. And it just seems like last year was a one-hit wonder for the Giants. Daniel Jones, way overpaid in my opinion. Not going to be a difference maker for that offense. And for a team that likes to blitz, you have to get to the quarterback. That defense only has, 1-2 sacks on the year through 3 weeks. Not a good look for the Giants, who are trying to still find themselves through week 3 of the NFL season. Number 28, number 27, number 26. Number 28, the Houston Texans got their first win, a big win against the Jacksonville Jaguars this past week. But look, they're a young team. They're rebuilding. But CJ Stroud looks like a budding star through 3 games. Has a lot of room to grow. Really exciting, but looks like a player in the NFL this early in his career. Tank Dell looks like one of the biggest finds. His stock rose mightily during the combine and the pro days and the Senior Bowl. Tank Dell looks like a stud so far for them. And DeMeco Ryans got his first win. Him being a former Niner defensive coordinator, want to give him a big shout out in this podcast. But look, they're young. They're going to lose a lot more games, but you're feisty. You continue to fight and claw and scratch. The Texans, I think, can surprise some people, but they do feel like a team that is going to finish with like 4 wins, 5 wins this year. And you point to them next year and say they could make a jump in the AFC South. They're my 28th ranked team. 27, I hate to say it, the Las Vegas Raiders, 1-2 on the year. Just the offense looks one-dimensional. Jimmy G is throwing like 30 times a game. Josh Jacobs hasn't done much through 3 weeks. The offense looks vanilla. The defense looks bad. And when you're getting beat by the Steelers on your home field, you're getting one good drive against the Buffalo Bills, and you're lucky against the Denver Broncos. It's hard for me to put you higher on this list in 27th. The Raiders, I want you to play well. You have my boy Jimmy G, but right now it's Devontae Adams and nobody else out there in the city of sins. They're my 27th ranked team. 26, a team I didn't expect to be this high, a team I thought was going to be 32 almost the entirety of the season. The Arizona Cardinals just beat the Dallas Cowboys. They're my 26th ranked team. Talk about the upset of the season so far in the NFL. Dallas, by all intents and purposes, supposed to come into San Francisco being 4-0 in 2 weeks. That's not going to happen. They're now 2-1 on the season, sitting behind the Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, the Arizona Cardinals look like not a good team, but look like a team that's going to fight every single game. James Conner looks great carrying the offense, and Josh Dobbs looking like not a player, but looking like someone that can steal a few wins this year. Already stolen one right now, getting them the 26th ranked team to begin a week 4 of the NFL season. 25, though, an 0-3 team. I get the record might not say it's as good as the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Texans, Giants, Jets, but right now the Panthers, to me, losing Bryce Young for what seems like a game or two. They were in that Seattle game this week. Their defense is really strong. They're trying to implement a new offense, a new system, and I think it's going to take 6-8 games. Once they do so, they've been in almost every game they've played so far, and I wouldn't be surprised if come year's end, they're a 5-6 win team. And again, pointing to next year, saying that's the year for Carolina. But right now, through 3 games, they're 0-3, but I think their defense has proven to be one of the more stout units in the NFL. And I think if they continue to play at that level, they are going to win some games as the season progresses. Only in week 4, a lot of games to go. Carolina should eventually jump teams like the Raiders, the Cardinals, Texans, Giants, and Jets before it's all said and done. That is number 32 through 25. Bears, Broncos, Jets, Giants, Texans, Raiders, Cardinals, and Panthers. Let's get to numbers 24 through 15. Now, mind you, some of these teams can be ranked higher in a week or so, but when you're in this kind of middle of the pack, maybe a little below average area, things get jumbled up. It's almost like I'm projecting a little bit here. And number 24, the New England Patriots, Mac Jones, or at this point, you call him McCorkle. I'm going to call him McCockle because he's out there grabbing Ahmed Sauce's Gardner's junk on the field and doing some weird stuff. And Mac Jones is a fine quarterback. Bill Bryan back in the building. The offense looked a little bit better. Hunter Henry's playing well. The defense is doing just fine, but they have no receivers. It's Kendrick Bourne and Devontae Parker. Both those guys past their prime. Both those guys not being able to carry a load offensively. And besides them, it's just that Stevenson in the backfield hasn't done much this year, and it's just Mac Jones and a bunch of meh. They're my number 25th ranked team. Bill Belichick, I love you. You're one of the greatest coaches of all times, but it might be time to hang it up after this year. It's not been pretty, not been great. Go off in the sunset with your 7 championships and call it a day and leave McCorkle, a.k.a. McCockle, out there to suffer in New England because right now it's not looking pretty out there at whatever the stadium's called now. Oh my goodness, whatever it is. Number 23, the Vikings. They're 0-3. I get that. They are my highest ranked winless team. Number 23 on my power rankings. They have been in every game. Should have beat the Chargers. Should have beat the Eagles. Should have beat the Buccaneers. Like the Vikings team, whole new defensive coordinator. Cut a bunch of personnel this past offseason. The offense is still there. This offense is not the problem. Kirk Cousins is not the problem. Yes, he's not great, but this team should be, if not 3-0, 2-1 to begin their season. I know it's ugly. It's not pretty. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets come calling for Kirk Cousins. I would do that for 1 year and say, get us into the playoffs at least. Let the defense do the rest. And ironically, that would reconnect him and Dalvin Cook together. That's what I would do. That's just me, though. But honestly, I think I would, if I was the Vikings, I would consider trading Kirk Cousins. But knowing you should be 2-1, 3-0, they fought almost every game. The Chargers game came down to one red zone play, which, yes, that plays on Kirk Cousins, but they should have beaten the Chargers. They've been in almost every game so far. I can't fault them. And for Vikings fan and really the team, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Yes, last year with the best record in one-score games, so you have to admit they're going to lose some of those games this year, being a worse team altogether, especially on defense. But this offense has the firepower to stick with almost any team in the NFL, and so I think when it's all said and done, they could be a 7-8 win team and fighting for a wild card spot. But being 0-3, it's not pretty. The defense looks really bad, but I do believe in Justin Jefferson and Madison and Hawkinson that, you know, when it's all said and done, they're going to find themselves at least clawing and fighting and scratching for that final wild card spot. They're 0-3. They're right now number 23 in my power rankings. Number 22, the Tennessee Titans. And honestly, I can put in Tennessee and Jacksonville in here, 22 and 21. Jacksonville, one team I thought was going to be top 10 almost all year long. Trevor Lawrence, the guy, in my opinion. He looks like the next great NFL quarterback out of one of the worst draft classes of all time currently with Trey Lance and Fields and Allen and McCorkle and now Trevor Lawrence. Tennessee, a team who I thought was going to fight for a playoff spot, a team I thought might be able to fight for the AFC South this year, but they look okay. Derek Henry hasn't been Derek Henry-like. Receivers have been okay. DeAndre Hopkins has been good out there. Treylon Burks has taken the next step, but you have Ryan Tannehill, who is the epitome of average, a guy who can keep you in games, but will lose you games. He's not going to go out there and give you 500 yards or 400 yards passing, or not even 300. He'll give you 220, 240. Then he'll say, Derek Henry carried me to victory. It hasn't worked so far this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see people or we see them go to the rookies behind him and give them a chance to go out there and show something. This team, to me, should win in 7 games this year, be 7-9, 7-10, and kind of find themselves saying, "Are we too caught in between to go get a high draft pick for a quarterback, or are we too bad to sit here, or excuse me, are we too good to get a top end pick, and are we too bad to be in a playoff spot?" Give it 2-3 more weeks, and those will have a chance are going to pick up out there in Tennessee and Nashville. Again, Jacksonville, they're 1-2. They'll pick things up. I believe in Trevor Lawrence. I believe in Doug Peterson, Travis Etienne, Christian Kirk, Jamal Agnew, Calvin Ridley. This offense is too talented to be this bad. And it seems like something's off so far, but it's not the only team that has a cat logo with the offense being off this early. So I would expect these guys figure it out, and when it's all said and done, win the AFC South over the team I have ranked in front of them currently being the Indianapolis Colts. Titans, Jaguars, and Colts. This right now, it's really a toss-up. I get the Colts went into Baltimore and won that big game in the rain and beat Lamar Jackson, and gave the Ravens their first loss of the year. And Jonathan Taylor hasn't played yet. Anthony Richardson is still hurt. The Colts aren't a good team, but Shane Steichen has them playing well. They're kind of using the Philadelphia Eagles playbook last year, and Gardner Minshew is getting wins. So give them credit where it's due. It's early, but right now I think I would put them just ahead of Tennessee in Jacksonville at my number 20 spot on my power rankings. But again, in 2 weeks, all it takes is Tennessee to put up 22 points and get a win, and Jacksonville to figure it out offensively, and all of a sudden Colts start dropping because they're not a good team. The defense is fine. DeForest Buckner's still there doing work, former Niner, but besides that, it's nothing special. It's just they're a scrappy young team with a young head coach who wants to prove something, and they're doing it currently. But come week 18, 6-7 win team at most. I would say 6-win team. It's not going to be pretty, and again, you have to play Jacksonville twice, got to play Tennessee twice. And the Texans at a certain point could jump them when it comes to record-wise and the power rankings. My next team, number 19, just lost tonight. It's a team I have a lot of respect for, a team that doesn't have their best offensive weapon currently, but a team that also doesn't have a great defense. Aaron Donald has kind of been a non-factor for a lot of the season so far, and that's the Rams. I like Matthew Stafford. I think he's a top 10, top 12 quarterback in football. His arm talent is up there with the Mahomeses and the Burrows and others like him. But right now, he is turnover worthy. It just seems like it's all or nothing with him. He has to pass 50 times, 40 times to win them a game. They traded Cam Akers away to Minnesota, and they had no running game. It's Puka Nacua. Eventually, it's Cooper Kupp, it's Tutu Atwell, and Matthew Stafford, and that's it. McVay's been off and on with his game planning, his game calling. You beat Seattle week 1. Things look great. You go out there and you lose to San Francisco. You go on the road and lose to the Bengals with Joe Burrow having a bad calf and a bad Achilles. The Rams are an average team. They do some things really well, which is passing the football. But you can't run, and you can't stop opposing offense. What or where do Rams fans expect them to be ranked when it comes to the NFL? Like, this team will be a top 14 pick in the NFL draft when it's all said and done, unless Stafford just goes crazy, which he certainly can do. But through 3 weeks, this team is not good enough to just throw the ball 45 times a game and expect to win. The defense is not good. And when you get Stafford, who by all intents and purposes is a good quarterback, when it's 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, the defense, which is young and rather untalented, is not going to be able to hold up, and they haven't so far. Let's look at my next team, the next great team. And really 18, 17, 16, 15. The Falcons are 2-1. Desmond Ridder is not good. It's Bijan. It's Tyler Algier in that defense all day. Kyle Pitts is a lost cause. in the offense. Arthur Smith is a fine head coach. He wants it to be Tennessee light out there in the ATL. They need a quarterback desperately. If I was them, I would make a move up to the top 5 picks if Caleb Williams is still there. They'll win a handful of games this year. They'll be competitive. They beat the Niners teams last year with the worst roster last year. So I expect the Falcons to be around the 20 to 15 marker all year long. They're too good to be a top 10 pick team, but they're not good enough yet at quarterback to be able to actually win football games when it comes to playing teams like the Saints or a team like the Panthers or a team like the Commanders or the Cowboys or the Eagles or even the Niners. Like, the Falcons are not good enough at the most important position in the NFL. Ritter's not the guy. Bijan's great. One of the best running backs in football already. They have the ground and pound down. Find themselves a QB. They can start winning games. And if they had a QB, I could put them up there and say they might win the NFC South. But right now, Ritter's not the guy. I don't trust him. They're at 18. Number 17, the Bengals. Who is Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow, to me, is the top 2 quarterback in football. Maybe this year he's top 3 because Tua Tagovailoa is killing it right now. But Joe Burrow, the ankle's hampering him, or excuse me, the calf is hampering him. The Achilles could eventually get hurt. I hope not. He's a great player. The offense looks stagnant. It's not explosive. They barely escaped against the Rams with the win against the bad defense. They are lucky to be 2-1, or excuse me, 1-2 or 1-2 on the year. They do not belong in the, I don't know, top 17. They belong inside the top 10. They should be that good. This is a team where you point to and say these guys could be in the Super Bowl this year if they're all healthy. Something looks off. I'm not sure exactly what it is. The defense is good. The offense has talent, but so far you're 1-2, and the things are not looking pretty with the Bengals right now. If there was one team to climb up the leaderboard, up the power rankings, this is the one I would circle because they have the talent to be a top team in the NFL. But right now, through 3 weeks, going into week 4, my number 17th ranked team at 1-2 on the year. The Buccaneers, number 16. Baker Mayfield, you bona fide freaking scrub. I like Baker Mayfield being an Oklahoma Sooner fan. He was my guy out of OU, but sometimes your guy just is not it. Was once touted to take Cleveland all the way, is like, dude, how are you a quarterback in the NFL and a starter? 2 surprising wins to begin the year. He's a gritty quarterback. He likes to fight. He's cocky as can be, but unfortunately, the talent doesn't match the ego. And you lose against the Eagles, you're going to find yourself losing against top defenses like the Saints in San Francisco and the Dallas Cowboys. Baker just isn't good enough to carry this roster. He is no Tom Brady by any form of the word, but right now, Tampa Bay, give them credit. The defense is still rocking with their front 7 being really strong so far this year, but I think they're going to find themselves being an average team. 16 fits them. That's right at the average mark on the season. If they're pick 15, 16, 17, 18 to end the year in the NFL draft, I would not be surprised. They just have a team that has no direction. They are too good to, again, get a top pick, but they're too bad to fight for a playoff spot. This feels like a wasted year in Tampa Bay. You're not playing Kyle Trask. Your offensive weapons are getting older, and that's what happens when you're an average team. Hence, my number 16 power ranking. The surprise team for me is number 15, the Washington Commanders. 2-1 so far this year, and yes, they got shellacked. They got mollywopped. They got the you-know-what kicked out of them by the Buffalo Bills, and my goodness, Sam Howell, I don't know what to describe him as. I think he's a bottom-tier quarterback in the NFL. He has potential. I think he's young. They saw him for a full year, mind you, and said, we'll roll the dice with you. That does speak something to me, but through 3 weeks and you're 2-1, you have the exact same record as, as the Dallas Cowboys, which shouldn't be happening, but it is. They have a strong defense. They have a really, really good running offense, but you have Sam Howell playing quarterback. If they could just get guys like Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin, an actual quarterback, this team could, I don't want to say jump past Dallas, but they can give Dallas a run for their money in the wild card spot this year. And I truly believe that Sam Howell's fine, but when it's all said and done, can the running game carry them? Yes. Yes, it certainly can. It's better than the Giants team, in my opinion. The defense is younger, more ferocious. And I do think that with what Rivera wants to do on defense there, they can survive a lot of big hits and still keep going. And Bieniemy's in town now. I would not be surprised if come year's end that we see Bieniemy as the head coach and maybe Rivera's fired. Bieniemy, I think, is made to be a head coach and a team that is wanting to continue to reshape their image. Having a black head coach for whatever it's worth will mean something in that building. And you give Bieniemy, a guy who coached Patrick Mahomes, then you go out there and you get a stud quarterback, whoever that might be, and you have weapons already in the building. Washington, I get it's not next year, but they're a team I have my eye on to make a big shift and pay some big money for a handful of players, or make a big risk and go up there and try to get your guy in the NFL draft and figure this thing out, because they have a team that's ready to go, minus quarterback and maybe one or two pieces that aren't there just yet. And one off season, you can fix that, and all of a sudden, you got something out there in Washington to actually be proud of and point to and say, I like what I see. And currently, I like what I see through 3 weeks. My number 15 team, now 14-11, almost towards the top 10. Stick with me here. Number 14, the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Browns on primetime football 2 weeks ago in week number 2. Beat the Raiders in primetime football this past week, and you can argue that those wins aren't too impressive, but I do think beating Cleveland, the game where Nick Chubb got hurt, certainly sucks, certainly stinks, not how you want to win, but Pittsburgh defense, it's still real. It always has been real, and you could argue that makes what Brock Purdy did that much more impressive. But the Steelers' defense is real. The Steelers' defense is something you point to and say TJ Watt and Highsmith and Minka Fitzpatrick, and yeah, they have some holes. Sure, they're a veteran team that they're not as fast as they once were, but they still want to get to the quarterback. Mike Tomlin is the guy out there. They're already 2-1, and if they can just fire Matt Canada and get themselves an actual offensive coordinator and give weapons like Pickett and Deontay Johnson, who's currently hurt, and Kenny Pickett and Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, give them something to actually work with, the Steelers could be a lot better than 2-1. They can be a lot better than what they've shown so far. They've been one of the worst offenses in football this year with the weapons they have there. It's a freaking tragedy. It's awful. I am on the hashtag fire Matt Canada train. And right now, being 2-1, the upside is as high as it can be for me right here, sitting in my bedroom. But for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have big problems. Their linebackers aren't very good. Their offensive coordinator is the worst in football, and their quarterback is too inconsistent. They'll be just good enough to be 9-8 this year and keep that winning record for Mike Tomlin alive, but it's not a team you point to and say they can be an actual playoff contender, or like many fans thought for whatever reason, they can make a massive jump and find themselves playing out there in Vegas in the Super Bowl. That's insane to me, but certain fans thought that. I think the aspirations have fallen down the pegs through 3 weeks, but they have something out there. You fire Matt Canada, things might change. My number 13 team is a team that, well, should have beat the Miami Dolphins, but Brandon Staley is an awful head coach. Should have lost to the Minnesota Vikings. And again, because Brandon Staley's a bad head coach, Justin Herbert, to me, doesn't know when to actually use his legs, but has one of the best arms in football. Their defense is just insanely bad. Not sure how you pay that much money for J.C. Jackson, and he's he's a healthy scratch against the Vikings offense, where if you're going to have your top corner out there, someone you pay that much money, It's against the team like Minnesota who wants to throw the football. They said, no, sit aside. Don't worry. They look like a team that doesn't really know who they want to be. Austin Eckler's already hurt. And it just feels like another lost year for Charger fans. It sucks. You already moved the team, 5 years ago from San Diego out of the heart of the fan base out there to LA. Okay, whatever. Now you have your franchise quarterback. Keenan Allen's still there putting up big numbers. You have Rashawn Slater, one of the best tackles in football when healthy. Eckler is the number 2, number 3 running back in football when healthy. Derwin James can't stay healthy, but he's a top safety in football. Asante Samuel Jr., someone I wanted in the draft in 2021, excuse me. But it's like the Chargers just seem like a team that, are they good? Are they bad? Right now, I'd point to them being missing the playoffs. But right now, Justin Herbert's playing out of his mind, carrying the team. And if I'm not going to bet against a player, I'm not going to bet against Justin Herbert. But Brandon Staley is doing his darndest to keep this team held back. I would let him go as soon as I could. I would have let him go last year, losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars, blowing that massive lead in the playoffs. But I don't run the Chargers. That's just me. Don't be surprised if they make it to the playoffs or miss it by a game, and we're all sitting here come year's end saying, Brandon Staley, fire him, please. Next team on my list, the New Orleans Saints, just lost Derek Carr to an AC joint injury. Not sure how long that's going to be. This is a team where you point to and say they can easily fall down these rankings by a ton if it's Taysom Hill or what seems like to be Jameis Winston, who has never had it in his career. I get he has a big arm, but the LASIK didn't help, folks. It didn't help at all. We saw them blow a massive lead against the Green Bay Packers this past week. Jordan Love looks great out there for Green Bay and the Cheeseheads, but Jameis Winston cannot move the ball. Alvin Kamara is not back yet. The Saints right now could be tumbling down the power rankings come after this week. And right now, they're 2-1. I'll give them the credit. The defense looks great, but right now, I'm sure they're sitting back saying, we wish we would have kept Andy Dalton as a backup. We wish we would have kept Andy Dalton as a backup. And right now, they have Jameis Winston, who's going to lose them a ton of games this year. But through 3 weeks, going into week 4, my number 12 ranked team, because the defense has been so good out there in New Orleans. My number 11th team, I hate this team because of who plays quarterback. It is Deshaun Watson's led Cleveland Browns. You lose Nick Chubb. You lose your best offensive player, but Deshaun Watson's playing better football in week 3, hitting Amari Cooper for massive, massive gains through the air. The offense can be explosive. If Deshaun Watson continues to improve and find some resemblance of who the quarterback he was pre criminal activity is what I'll call it. This team is going to be good, and San Francisco plays them in a few weeks. It's a game I have marked on my schedule saying, kick the crap out of Deshaun Watson, please. Nick Bosa, get your 3-sack game in that game, but Deshaun Watson looking better after a few rough games to start the year. They have weapons. Kevin Stefanski's a good head coach. Not great, but good enough. The defense is really strong out there. Myles Garrett's really good, having a great year. Could be a DPOI candidate again in his career. The number 11 team goes to the Cleveland Browns, being 2-1 to begin the year. We are now inside the top 10 after 35 minutes of nonsense, finally inside my top 10 through week 3. I am hoping to do these every week, couple weeks or so when San Francisco has a primetime game, when there isn't much to react to on Monday or Thursday, to kind of give you where I see the NFL through whatever day, week, or time it might be at that point. Not going to come every single week, but maybe every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, and we'll kind of go throughout the year. And as this thing progresses, where do my teams rank as the year goes along? But after week 3, Going into week 4, my number 10 team is the hated, mouth moving because he's chewing so much gum, Pete Carroll on the sideline led Seattle Seahawks. They're banged up, they're hurt, but they're 2-1. They lost against the Rams in week 1, but since then it bounced back. Geno Smith looks okay. He doesn't look great. Didn't look great last year. I don't know why he was getting so much hype, but he was fine. This year he looks fine as well, but I have been so impressed by what their running game has done. Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker look amazing. DJ Dallas looks like he's just another guy, a jag, just a guy back there to go out there and give them, 4 or 5 yards a pop, return punts, return kicks. Seattle, for much as we hate them out here in the Bay Area, Pete Carroll has that team cooking right now, being 2-1. Kenneth Walker just looks amazing, and who knows what they'll look like when they're healthy. Jamal Adams should play week 4 for the first time in a year and a half almost. Devon Witherspoon is working his way back, and we'll see what he looks like in a few weeks once he gets his kind of feet wet and his ears ungreened, making his debut. And we'll see what this team actually looks like when healthy. But right now, my number 10 overall team through 3 weeks, they're Seattle. They're going to fight. They're going to claw. They're going to scratch. They're going to get a lot of luck, but you got to give them credit. They're a good enough team. Right now, number 10 on my power rankings. Number 9, a team that I didn't think was going to be even close, not even going to sniff my top 10. The Green Bay Packers. I have been insanely impressed by Jordan Love through 3 games. Should be 3-0 currently. Don't know how they blew that lead against Atlanta, but right now, I was just watching him come back against the Saints. Now, he needs some help. If Derek Carr's healthy, probably doesn't happen, but to give Jordan Love credit, you can only do or deal with the hand you've been dealt, and Jordan Love looks really good so far. Christian Watson hasn't played much, but he's fighting through it. Aaron Jones has been hurt, and they're 2-1. Once you give Jordan Love his best weapons on the field, we will then be able to kind of give an honest assessment of him. But right now, through 3 weeks, I like what I see, and I hate to say it. Again, there's so much to prove, so much to see. What's wrong with taking the back streets? Shout out Smash Mouth. But right now, Jordan Love looks like the Green Bay Packers' 3rd consecutive franchise quarterback. Now, for the San Francisco 49ers' sake, I hope he takes the Aaron Rodgers route and loses to us in the playoffs every single year. But besides that, Jordan Love looks really good. Sitting benefited him, and right now the defense looks really good out there too. Rashawn Gary, one of the most underrated defensive ends in football. Jair Alexander playing his butt off out there in the secondary. The Packers are cooking, folks. They look good. I would not be surprised if when the season's over with, we're sitting here saying Jordan Love, NFC North champion? It's weird. It's early, but right now the Packers look really strong. And Matt LaFleur has his guy, and there's not much else to say about him. My number 8 team, former MVP Lamar Jackson just lost to the Indianapolis Colts out there in the rainy Baltimore weather, Baltimore clouds. Justin Tucker misses a game-winning kick. Uncharacteristic of them, and I would have them higher, but it seems like the entire team is banged up currently, kind of like the Seattle Seahawks are. But the difference is the Seattle Seahawks don't have Lamar Jackson, somebody who can win you almost any game in the NFL. Now, OBJ's hurt. Ronnie Stanley's hurt. They've lost seemingly 4 running backs or have no running backs again this year with Dobbins and Justice Hill being hurt already. But I do believe in the Ravens. John Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in football. Probably not going to be, in the chip to end the year, not going to be in the bowl to end the year. But right now, if you had to put money on it, I'd put money on the Baltimore Ravens winning the AFC North over Cleveland, over the Bengals, and over Pittsburgh, despite maybe those teams having easier schedules, and despite those teams maybe having better rosters all the way around. The Ravens know how to attack the quarterback. They know how to play great defense. And with Lamar Jackson being the ultimate X factor, the most elusive player in the NFL besides what Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, um, the Ravens, my number 8 team, they lost. I get it, but get these guys healthy. The Ravens are going to find their way. And I truly think they can stay at 8 almost all year long, if not climb to 6 or 7 when it's all said and done. Number 7, though, the Detroit Lions. You couldn't have beat Seattle. But Jared Goff having a good year. This Lions team beat the Chiefs on the road, right? This is a team you point to and say their offense can hang with anybody. Ben Johnson leading the way as their coordinator. But the defense is not so pretty. Aiden Hutchinson playing well, though. It's a team who is trying to build something, rebuild the culture, and kind of not this year, but next year, and hopefully make that big jump. But so far, they're benefiting from the Vikings having an off year so far. The Packers sticking around, but I do think currently that the Lions, by all intents and purposes, are the best team in the NFC North. They're going to make mistakes. They're young, but just like the Ravens and like Seattle, although not so much, they're just as hurt. Emmanuel Mosley, off and on hurt, obviously being a former Niner, rooting for him. CJ Gardner-Johnson already tore his pec, a massive loss for the defense. But right now, the Lions, when you got Jared Goff and you got Jahmyr Gibbs and you have Amon St. Brown, like this team can truly do something offensively. And in a few weeks, they'll get back some more firepower. So the Lions not playing their best ball just yet, albeit 2-1 on the season. But Jared Goff, I truly think, can carry this team at least to a divisional crown, and through 3 weeks has proven that so far. At a 2-1 record, sitting at number 7 on our power rankings. Number 6, though, the Buffalo Bills, a team that should have beaten the New York Jets week 1 in New York, the Aaron Rodgers injury game. Josh Allen is the ultimate elite quarterback who gets in his own way too much. I love him. I think he's a great quarterback. He's a top 5 guy in football right now. Someone that Kyle Shanahan said, "Oh my goodness, I hate losing to this guy," in 2020, and said, "I need to get someone like that." Led to Trey Lance, and oh my goodness, we know what happened there. But Josh Allen is the prototypical elite quarterback in football. He's big-bodied, can run through anybody, has the second best arm when it comes to accuracy and strength. But the issue is turnovers. We had 4 against the Jets in week 1. Not pretty, but bounced back against the Raiders. Then bounced back again against the Commanders, putting up, a 40-point differential in that game, and asserting their dominance over a younger and weaker opponent in the Washington Commanders. The Bills are good. They're going to be fighting for the AFC's crown all year long, and through these 3 weeks, it's not been pretty, but they've been up. They've been really up. They've been really down, but right now find themselves being 2-1 behind one of the best teams in football thus far, the Miami Dolphins in the AFC. So right now the Bills at number 6. Okay, folks, we are at number 5. Only 5 more teams. Stick with me here. Gonna hopefully get through these pretty quickly and send you on your merry way. But first, want to remind you, follow us on social media and use that promo code 49ers Access. You want to go to the game against the Cardinals at Levi Stadium. You want to go to the game against the Cowboys at Levi Stadium. Use that promo code and save yourself $20 off. It's a discount, folks. I'm giving you a chance to save money. Capitalize and use it. And let's get back to my top 5 teams in the NFL. Number 5, the Kansas City Chiefs. They're out there. They got Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. And the defense is playing better than expected. Now, my main concern is who's Kadarius Toney? Who is Sky Moore? The receivers are not great out there in KC, but they have the ultimate game changer. Mahomes and Travis Kelce, the best duo in the NFL currently. If Kelce's on that field, the Chiefs have a chance. If Mahomes is on the field, the Chiefs have a chance, could very easily be a 3-0 so far this year. They look healthy. They got their swag back. They're running the football again. Play action is working, and Mahomes looks better than ever. He's a god. He's a little G god. He's so good physically. He's so freaking smart. He never gets hurt. He can avoid almost any single sack. And right now, Mahomes looking good. You got Mama Kelsey and Swift up there in the booth saying F words and cheering on the team. They may be the most hated team in football currently, but the Chiefs, number 5 on my power rankings, annihilating the Chicago Bears in week number 3. Then, number 4, the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, I know, Dallas Cowboys fan. I know it's so hard. I know. You lost against Arizona Cardinals. I know it's so hard. I know it's so hard to be so unclutch and have Dak Prescott be your quarterback. I love me some Tony Pollard. I love me some CeeDee Lamb, Boomer Sooner. But my goodness, Dak Prescott's throwing the ghosts out there. The Cowboys, Micah Parsons, like they have a roster full of studs. And I'm clowning you now, knowing you are going to make the playoffs, knowing that you could be facing the Niners or whoever it is in the NFC Championship game this year. But when you lose to arguably one of at least the worst rosters in football, I almost dropped you out of the top 5 entirely, but I watched what you did against the Giants, and I said, okay. I watched what you did against the Jets, and I said, okay, I get it. But the Dallas Cowboys, the first time they faced any pushback this year, one word came to mind, and it's the same word I would use with the Rams, the Buccaneers, the Vikings, the Chargers, maybe a team like the Seahawks or a team like, I don't know, the Commanders, the Packers, the Lions, because it really encompasses what it means to have a good roster, but at the end of the day, you're just not good enough to win the whole thing. And I'm sure you know the word. And if you do, say it with me. On the count of 3, the Dallas Cowboys are 1, 2, 3. Frauds! The Dallas Cowboys are FRAUDS. Frauds, frauds, frauds. How do you lose to the Arizona Cardinals? James Conner, I get it. He's a good running back. The Niners play him this week. If San Francisco loses to James Conner and Josh Dobbs and Hollywood Brown and that defense, you're going to see me yelling and screaming and whining and complaining and saying, how did that happen? All I know is Dallas Cowboy fans have been uncharacteristically very quiet this past week. It's Monday. I haven't heard a peep. Because how do you lose to the Arizona Cardinals? They're a good team. They'll get sacks. They'll get touchdowns. When it's all said and done, they'll be 10-7, 11-6. The number 5 seed in the NFL NFC playoff picture, sitting back playing the San Francisco 49ers in round number 2 and getting their ASS kicked at Levi Stadium once again. They're a good team. I like Dak. He's a good guy. I respect Dak Prescott, but just not good enough, boys. Just not good enough. I'm sorry. Number 4, I'm clowning a number 4 team in football. That's where my head's at. I'm so cocky and arrogant right now because right now we're at the number 3 team. The Philadelphia Eagles haven't hit their stride just yet, but Jalen Hurts is playing fine, has plenty of room to improve to get back to what he was last year. Apparently he's playing hurt. Not sure how much that actually affects him, but apparently he is. His shoulder's still jacked up from last year, but they have weapons. A.J. Brown looks great. Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert both look like they're bouncing back and having the same year they had last year. But DeAndre Swift, man, does he look like, or is he making the Lions look like fools not giving him snaps? Sometimes you just don't match up well with certain coaches and schemes, but DeAndre Swift looks like a steal for the Philadelphia Eagles. The defense looks good. I mean, their front seven is just, my God. And right now they're older and they have younger players there, but right now they're banged up. The cornerback room, but Avonte Maddox is out for the entire year for a large portion of it. I think Nakobe Dean's out for a portion of the year. Like they do have injuries and they do have some significant players out that once they get healthy again can certainly help them get back to where they were last year, being in the Super Bowl. But right now, they haven't hit their stride just yet. Could have lost in week 1 against the Patriots, could have lost against the Vikings, should have lost against the Vikings if Justin Jefferson holds on to the football. But right now, number 3 could be a team that's number 1, number 2 come next week. And we're sitting here saying Philadelphia is back in business for who they were last year. But right now, 3-0, Sirianni has the boys playing extremely well. And honestly, they may have the best GM in the NFL. Howie Roseman loves to make trades, loves to find the next big, great thing. And we're out here in San Francisco saying we got $41 million in cap space. They're going to make a move eventually. Anybody's going to make a move, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. They do it every single year. They're a great team, and they like to be aggressive. They signed like 17 defensive tackles last year, and it made a huge difference. Not going to have that luxury this year, but they're aggressive. They have a good team, and they're rolling so far 3-0, one of the 3 remaining undefeated teams in the NFL. My number 2 team, there's 2 teams left. There's 2 teams left, both teams being 3-0. Now, I'm going to assume you have an idea who's number 1 here. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? But number 2, the Miami Dolphins, 3-0. Mike McDaniel has them boys out there just slicing and dicing and slaying it and throwing tutties and catching tutties and running for tutties. Raheem Mostert looks amazing, looks rejuvenated. Tyreek Hill giving the deuces like he's the cheetah. Jalen Waddle's not even healthy, and they dropped 70 points against the Denver Broncos. I mean, my goodness. The Dolphins look really good. The defense isn't great, but Jalen Ramsey isn't healthy yet. They're going to get better as the year goes on. Tua Tagovailoa, um, he throws the ball so pretty. Being a lefty, you got to keep him healthy. The head is certainly a big question mark with the concussions and stuff, but right now the Dolphins have the best offense in football. They are the most explosive team in the NFL. They possess the most speed. They got like 7 white guys playing slot receiver that can do anything. Braxton Berrios and River Craycraft and whoever else they got out there doing stuff for him in the slot. Waddle's amazing when he's healthy. Tyreek Hill is, a top 2 receiver in football. He's just insane. He can take any play to the house. And Tua's out there just saying, boom, touchdown, boom, touchdown. Like every single pass, you're like, is that going to be a touchdown too? McDaniels is out there having fun. And right now, Mike McDaniel, kudos to you, my friend. You're out there vaping during games. You're out there having a grand old time in South Beach. Good for you. You're 3-0. But it was 70 points. I mean, my God. You're 3-0. Currently in my number 2 team on the power rankings. And folks, we've made it to number 1. 53 minutes, 54 minutes into the podcast. You know who it is. It's not black and yellow. It's the red and gold. It is your 2023, 2024 through NFL week number 3, going into week number 4, San Francisco 49ers. Now, I did debate putting the Dolphins up here and not being a homer, but knowing that my preseason Super Bowl picks look really good right now, considering I said the Dolphins and San Francisco 49ers were going to be the 2 teams playing in the game come February. Now, a long way to go, but San Francisco out there rolling, feeling pretty good. And the reason why I put San Francisco here is because I'm going to say that They have the better head coach. Maybe not quarterback, but running back room. Christian McCaffrey being the best player, the best running back in football, knowing Nick Chubb is out for the year. Debo's playing well like an all-pro. Kittle had 7 receptions for 90 yards against the Giants. Mind you, aren't a great team, but they're rolling through teams that you can point to and say they should be more competitive. The Rams fans think they got something going. Brock Purdy said, "You get 30." Steelers, they thought they were something. You get 30. Giants are like, "We came back against the Cardinals. You get 30 on you." And there's room to grow. Not playing their best football just yet offensively. Brandon Ayuk should be back there or back in the game for the against the Cardinals in week number 4. If not, he's ready for Dallas in week number 5. This team, while they haven't truly been tested just yet, that Steelers win looks better by each week so far, but the Rams win, I don't know. The Giants win, I don't know. But I will say this, that the Niners right now have come into every game being a favorite, have left every game with a dominating win, and Brock Purdy can still play better. The defense is playing at a high clip. What they have 5 interceptions through 3 games so far. They're getting takeaways. They're scoring points. And when there's room to improve, why would you not put the San Francisco 49ers as a number 1 team in football? 32 teams, folks. 32 teams. Number 1 and number 2, San Francisco 49ers, Miami Dolphins. Those were my preseason Super Bowl picks. It looks insanely good right now. Now we'll see what it looks like come year's end and actually come after week 4. But right now, we're riding high, looking good. Only 3 remaining undefeated teams: Eagles, Dolphins, and San Francisco 49ers. We just ran through 32 teams. It's a lot to do, a lot to listen to. It's an hour-long podcast. I get it, right? If you want to hear me do this again, you have any suggestions, put them down below. If you just want me to do top 10, I'll do top 10. Let me know what you want to hear. But I also want to remind you that if you're going to do so, comment down below on the YouTube, and also hit me up on social media at 49ers_access is the Twitter. Instagram is 49ers.access. Hit me up on those platforms. I do my best to respond. Sometimes I just don't get around to it. Sometimes I'm really quick to it. Just depends, but I want to have these conversations with you. Which teams would you put inside your top 10 down below? Do you think San Francisco should be number 1? Should they be number 2? Should they be number 3? Am I being a homer? Maybe. But right now, I truly believe 1 and 2, Dolphins and Niners, are the best 2 teams in football. And I wouldn't be surprised when it's all said and done, we're sitting here in February previewing those 2 teams playing in the Super Bowl. Again, week 4 is coming up on Sunday for the San Francisco 49ers. Niners hosting the Arizona Cardinals. Going to be a fun game. Going to be a good game. Game number 2 of the Niners 3-game homestand. Looking to go 4-0. Maybe keep their number 1 spot on power rankings. Again, tell me your power rankings down below. Do you think your team is unjustly ranked? Is it justified to put the Packers inside the top 10? What would you do? But what you should do, use that promo code 49ersaccess, 49ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com, and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Also, use our Fanatics link and buy yourself some merch. Some Niners merch. You want a Brock Purdy jersey, you want a Kittle jersey, you want a t-shirt, you want a jersey. Get what you want, folks. Use the link. Support the show in the meantime. Don't forget to leave a like, share, leave a review, tell your friends. Look, you can put whatever you want on the review. You can say, this show sucks. If you give us 5 stars, it still helps. You can put gaga goo goo, poo poo pee pee. Doesn't matter. If you give us 5 stars, it certainly helps. This has been the 49er Access Podcast. And until next time, until week 4, Stay faithful.